Today we are going to talk about, and I'm going to share about my journey with non-monogamy. I actually scrapped my entire interview plan because I wanted to do something that was more vulnerable, and because I have the pleasure today of speaking with someone who I have been a huge fan of forever. I have read multiple of her books. I've been following her journey on social media for years, and I hope that you will too. It is my pleasure to introduce to you our guest today, Kenya K. Stevens. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hi, Caitlin.
Hi, it's such an honor to have
It's
you
almost
on.
like we know each other through all these networks of people, and I'm like, Caitlin, I haven't meet yet.
We have so much in common too, and we grew up as neighbors.
Michigan.
We're both from Michigan.
We are both from the same area in Michigan. It's too much.
And now we're in the same world. And like I said, I've been a huge fan of yours forever. And so I sent you these episode guides. And then on the way over here today, I was like, I finally get Kenya to myself in front of an audience, but I finally get Kenya to myself. And I don't want to miss the opportunity to do two things, which is one, people have been asking me about my journey through my divorce with my ex-husband. They've been asking what role non-monogamy played in that. I have not shared about that very publicly because it wasn't something that I had fully processed yet. Okay. But it is in the past now. It's no longer an open wound. It's a scab. It's a scar even. I feel you're like looking at me like we might just peel that back.
I want to hear this. I want to hear this.
But and you obviously are.
Well, I stopped divorces.
You are a thought leader in this space. So yeah, can you share a little bit about yourself, and then I'll share more about where I've been?
Absolutely. I stopped divorces because I support couples in becoming communities. You know, I don't think relationships are done right. I don't think it's anybody's fault. Like this divorce rate, it is nobody's fault. It is a systems failure. So what I've done is dissected the system and created new systems, and I introduced that to my clients. And we stopped the divorce and changed the nature of the marriage. So I've done this for the past 18 years, and we've stopped thousands of divorces. And I don't believe in being in an unhappy marriage.
Yeah.
So we're not just pretending to stop,
right.
We're stopping the chain of bullshit and adherence to mores that we no longer agree with.
Right, because you're not just stopping divorce, you're stopping a relationship from going down the path of pain and conflict and suffering
it's going
unnecessarily.
there anyway, even if you divorce.
Yes. Oh, yeah, that's so true.
So why not just think about a different path, a third option, a fifth option, a 12th option?
Yeah.
Not just black or white.
I'll share with you a little bit about my story.
That's what I want to know.
And I want to hear a little bit about like maybe what we could have done differently, but also, was this the path that we were destined for?
I have my thinking cap on.
Put your coach cap on. Okay. Yeah. So I was with my former husband for 9 years. We were non-monogamous the whole time. We used various words to describe our relationship throughout. There were times where we were exclusive, and there were times where we were like more open than others. We realized kind of early on that our versions of non-monogamy were different. Our preferences and who we wanted to have relationships with, how we wanted them to be involved in our lives, in our coupledom. And at one point we were both exhausted of working on it.
Okay.
I think that we still wanted to respect our relationship, but I don't think, and especially for him, I think that he was just kind of done investing in the relationship anymore.
And he kind of
like doing the emotional work, like doing the work to like show up and have the hard stuff. And the reason that I say that, and this is no tea or shade towards my ex-husband. I love this man.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't have this YouTube channel if it weren't for him. So I owe him a lot of appreciation and gratitude. I have my undying gratitude. Towards the end of our relationship, the thing that the piece that non-monogamy played in it in particular was all of the things that I had been really asking for him, that I had said, like, look, if we're going to be in this relationship, I need you to take me on dates. I need us to have a emotional and intimate and physical connection.
Sure.
I need to have a one trip or so a year with you where we just put down our phones and work together, because we work together a lot.
Right.
And around the same time, he found another partner.
Oh.
And he started doing those things with her.
Of course.
So after telling me like he couldn't do it, he just didn't want to, and then all of a sudden he's like arranging dates in hotel rooms and all this stuff for her. And that really broke my heart in a way that I really struggled to recover from. In fact, so much so that I was like, I think this relationship is just over.
Okay.
And now, and we were just talking about this before we hit record, I'm in a new relationship that's super healthy and just incredible, and with someone who's like also went through a long relationship and also kind of came out the other side. And actually Well, that's his story to tell. But I asked for sexual exclusivity.
Okay.
And I had used the term monogamy, but you actually gave me a different term. You actually said sexual exclusivity.
Yes. Well, that's one of my pet peeves. When people say, well, I'm monogamous. My orientation is monogamous. I'm like, you're not a monogamous species. Yeah. Monogamous species only have sex when the female is in heat.
And
you
for
only
life,
have sex when you're ovulating.
with one partner. Oh, no.
Monogamous species, the males do not create spermicide in their sperm. Human males create a spermicide in their own sperm. Why? Because they're gonna
kill other sperm.
Of course, that are obviously there because we're not a monogamous
Oh
species.
yeah, I say this all the time. I said this on my show, Good Sex. Humans are designed to gangbang. We evolved to gangbang.
Well, we need community. Humans cannot survive without claws and fangs unless we have other people around us. So there's no way that a part of our sexuality would isolate us, because we would die.
No, of course not. Yeah. It's literally evolved into us.
It's evolved into us.
And I felt like I was open, non-monogamous, like had the capacity for loving and finding attraction to people like from a teenager.
Choosing sexual exclusivity is perfect. Well, I love sexual exclusivity. A lot of my partners, you know I'm poly, but a lot of my partners, they want exclusivity for a time. And that's what we humans have a choice to do.
And have you done that?
I've done it many times. Yeah. You know, I've had many little baby men who had to be babied at mama's chest.
Oh, yeah, they need. Okay. So I'm also curious about how you transitioned out of that, because one of the things that people came to me, someone came to me the other day and was like, we did monogamy for a while. We did sexual exclusivity for a while. Yep. And how do we, and now I'm like, oh, I'm ready. I'm itching. I want to get out. I want to like go, I want to open the doors again. And my advice to them was like, why don't you do that in stages, you know? Make sure everybody feels like their nervous system can handle the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and be really clear about what that is. But what advice do you have on that?
Well, because I stop divorces, most of the clients who come to me have dealt with adulterous affairs. Most of the clients I work with have been married 10, 15, or 20 years or more. I don't really do the 10 and under, but it sounds like you and your partner had hit that 7-year hump. And at that 7-year hump, you know, the hormones go down. The actual bonding hormones that bonded you all in the first place, they start to wane, and nobody gives us instructions as to what to do when that happens. You do have a different drive. He does have less of a desire to woo you, you know, and I have less of a desire to want his attention. You know, it's like both sides, but usually the woman pays a bigger price because she's just like, but I can't get it anywhere because it's just you, and that's what my culture taught me, you know.
You have the monopoly. They have
a monopoly on being able to guilt-free get some attention somewhere else, even if they're not cheating. So we get to that 7-year hump, and boom, we just feel differently. Now, you want to know, how do we start to navigate that? Because you all had obviously started to be poly.
We had done poly for years.
Done poly. So what were your protocols? What were your tools? What was your ideology?
Oof, that's a great question to cover in the next 8 minutes.
No, let's just give a quick version.
So we started very much just sort of like more sexually open than emotionally open.
Okay.
And then over time, as our relationship kind of felt like really solidified and grounded, and also we started like working together, we just had like a ton of time together.
Okay.
And maybe after 3 or so years, I had a boyfriend. I had another partner. Okay. He was like in our friend community. We had a relationship. They had a meta-more relationship, my husband and my boyfriend.
Okay.
And then that ended, and a few years after that, my husband had a girlfriend, but I never met her, which I didn't particularly like.
Okay.
That wasn't interesting to her. She didn't want to meet me. She'd had a bad relationship. She had a bad experience with someone else's wife.
Okay.
And so she was really reluctant to meet me. That relationship was kind of not destined for success for a lot of reasons, that included. I'd say that a lot of our poly theory was based on, that's such a good question.
Yeah, it sounds like you all tried poly.
Yeah.
And that's all the couples who come to me who have tried poly. It's challenging because there's not really a roadmap. It's creative.
Yeah.
You all are putting in things as you go. Oh, let's try it this way. Well, let's do it this way.
We were basing it based off of like what was happening. It was very contextual.
Sure,
like, I met someone I'm really attracted to. Only in the last year of our relationship did we each have like real other partners.
Right. And I love that. I think it was experimental. When couples come to me, we start with step 1. Step 1 to open relationships in the progressive poly understanding is authentic communication. Holding space for emotion, that comes prior to poly. If I see that a man is not unable to hold space for your emotion, and like, let's say for instance, I want more things, I want to go to dinner, I want to, if he's not able to be fully present and soothe your little ego down to a 0, and I watch both of you all process that emotion and that trigger and resolve it, then you're not ready for poly.
Oh, interesting.
That's step 1. So I do that with my couples for like 3 months prior to poly. Everything that comes up. And then we move to step 2 and add friendships of the opposite sex.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, baby. We got a science, because you cannot just try poly. It usually does not work. And it's not your fault or his fault.
Because when you try it, there's like so much going on. You haven't like
There's
settled
so much
the
that you
foundational pieces in the background to succeed.
Well, you still have a monogamous mind. And you actually still believe you're monogamous and that you're trying poly. You don't know that you're literally a poly, very vicarious, very sexually vivacious species. But because women haven't adopted to that, when I first went to poly, let me tell you, I was scared my husband would no longer respect me. I was afraid
Because
that
of like slut shaming? Because
yeah,
of that?
I felt like slut shaming. You know, you from Michigan being called a freak, being called a hoe, being called. These are things that are unresolved and that we really haven't talked to our partner about. So I just remember that if I had had the training that I delivered to my clients, 3 months of authentic communication, 3 months of bearing your soul. Like, I remember I never used to tell my husband when I was in love with another man. I would just go on the date.
Out of like fear for
Out of fear
protecting him?
that he would be upset.
Yeah.
I would come home from a date. I may have had sex. I may have done something and really felt feelings. He would say, "How was it?" "Oh, it was okay. It wasn't really all that." You know?
Yeah. I've been there, done that. Yeah, because you're like, you want to protect them.
Exactly.
But you're also afraid of the repercussions for you.
Yes, lack of authenticity. And so that's the first training, the authentic communication. And that's what I do with my system up level. So that's what my couples have to do for 3 months first.
Amazing. And then the second part you said is friendships.
Yes, then we're doing the authentic communication and we're adding on experimental friendships. So your friends, you need to be able to introduce your friends to your partner. You said, "Oh, we don't introduce." Let me tell you, that's not polyamory.
That has never felt good for me at all. And I understand the don't ask, don't tell stuff, but I don't think it falls. I think I understand it from the sense of like people are afraid, right? Because you're coming from fear.
Yes.
Right. If I really show up, if I really express myself, if I am myself in front of other people, I'm gonna lose love. I'm gonna be rejected, or the things that I hold dear, the structures that I hold up, are gonna disintegrate.
That's it. So if you're thinking about don't ask, don't tell, that means you skip step 1, authentic communication. Because don't ask, don't tell, it doesn't mean, so being honest. Let's talk about the concept of honesty. Most people say, "I don't want to be poly because he's not going to be honest. He's not going to tell the truth." Does he owe you the truth? That's the don't ask, don't tell side. But he does owe you authenticity. So let's say you're my partner and I don't want to just tell you all my business like a regurgitation.
Right.
But you're asking me, "What happened last night? Who is this chick? What's going on?" I can say, "I really don't feel safe sharing that in this moment. Can we do a time where we have some authentic time this weekend?" Like,
instead of just like I got home. And also there's another person involved and their privacy matters and their experience matters as well.
We don't owe anyone honesty because honesty is impossible. Do you care where I am in my menstrual cycle?
And there could be multiple truths, right? Too, like my truth and his truth and the other person's truth may not all align.
But authenticity can be there at all times. I don't feel safe sharing this with you. I feel like you're going to judge me. Oh, now we can get curious about that. But honesty.
Or I feel shame about what I did because I maybe broke a boundary or an agreement or something that felt right in the moment. And now I feel icky about sharing that with you.
Authentic conversations is first. If you can't have that with your partner and you don't have a practice system to do that, you're not ready for poly. You're going to jumble it.
So here's what I want to say about my own divorce, because people on YouTube have asked me many, many times. And the question is, did non-monogamy play a role in my splitting from my husband? And the answer is yes, but it is not the reason that we split either. We split for a whole multitude of so many reasons. Ways that we were incompatible, ways that our futures were incompatible. There was a time in our lives where they were very compatible. And then at one point, like one of us wanted to go in a different direction than the other. Our values shifted. And, you know, we didn't have all the tools that I have today. So the way that we treated our relationship, we didn't care for it in the way that I would and will in future relationships, how I advise people to care for it. So like, did it play a role? Yeah, of course it did. It did play a role, but like, so did 100 other things.
Right.
They all matter, but none is important.
They all matter. None of them is more important than the other, but you all didn't really break up. What I'm saying is that humans are one. We are one with each other. There's no way for me to break up with you. because you're still
Right,
one
we're
with
still
me.
part of the same whole,
Right.
yeah.
So all I get my clients to understand is that, see, you and your partner, your relationship transitioned.
Yeah, yeah.
But the relationship, hopefully,
we still have a relationship.
Exactly.
You know what? And ever since we put different words on it and we
Yes.
transitioned away from being husband and wife, we let those roles go and those identities go. Our relationship improved 1,000-fold.
So it's not a divorce. I try to get people to understand you don't want a divorce. You'd like to transition the energetic of your relationship. And that's how I keep all my husbands. Because my relationships have transitioned hundreds of times. I've been married 30 years to my first husband, 10 years to my second husband, 14 years to my third husband, and 14 to the other one in Atlanta. So I have New York, Atlanta, and 2 in Houston. Those relationships transition 1,000 times.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean...
But that's what's authentic.
Yes.
Right.
It's authentic when you can have the conversation. I no longer, like my husband told me 3 years ago, he didn't feel like having sex with me anymore. He wasn't attracted in that way. Now, was that hard for me to hear? Yes, but I know which part of me heard that. It was my ego. And so now my ego needs to vent and he needs to know how to soothe my ego. His ego is venting, I knew how to soothe his ego. But in that way, we build community rather than doing this splintering of Western culture. Well, you're divorced, or we're not, or we're this. But shut up. We're getting out of these titles, out of these boxes,
It's
out of
unnecessary. It's what I'm hearing, if I could like umbrella all of this, is like there's so much unnecessary suffering that comes at the hands of us just not living to our authentic truth, and us holding our relationships with these super rigid frameworks that don't describe reality, are outdated, and it many times cause way more harm and pain to everyone involved than they have to.
That's right.
We're gonna do a second episode. So if this episode piqued your curiosity, then stay tuned for a second episode.
I honor your bravery for sharing your story. That's not easy.
We'll do
that
more.
Is not
I'll
easy.
share more. It's fun. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine now. It feels fine now. But where can they find you? Where can they find your book?
Of course, progressiveloveacademy.com, Progressive Love Academy on Instagram, and my books are Up Level Communication and 9 Expressions of Love.
And they're amazing. Highly recommend. Truthful, deep recommendation can attest. Thank you so much, Kenya.
Thank you.